Well, Anthony Albanese held the seat of Dunkley over the weekend. That's despite Labor suffering a 3.6% swing against it. The PM seen in the electorate yesterday alongside the new MP, Jody Bellier. Well, joining us live now, Shadow Finance Minister Jane Hume. Jane, good to see you. Thanks for your time this morning. So we'll get to all of that in just a moment. I want to ask you about nuclear today. Are you about to flick the switch on nuclear? I know we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago and there was a bit of noise made about it, but is that going to be a central plank of your election hopes next year?
Pete, we are at the advanced stage of our cheaper, cleaner energy policy, and there will be announcements that will be made by the Shadow Energy Minister and the opposition leader shortly. I don't want to foreshadow that, but what I would say is that we have foreshadowed this for a long time. We've been speaking about the importance and the idea of having nuclear in the energy mix as part of the energy mix now for about 18 months or so. And the idea that you would preclude nuclear from your energy mix on your pathway to net zero is simply an act of ideological belligerence, because we know that those countries that have adopted nuclear or have said that they will adopt nuclear already have a cheaper and cleaner energy pathway to net zero. You look at somewhere like France, for instance, they have around 70% nuclear in their energy mix. They have some of the cheapest energy in Western Europe. Ontario in Canada has about 60% nuclear in its mix. Its energy bills are about half what we're paying here. So, of course, to preclude nuclear energy from the energy mix in Australia is simply an act of ideology.
So when it comes to advanced talks, does that mean you've sorted out what type of reactors will be here, where they will go, what to do with the waste? Has that all been worked out?
So, as I said, I'm not going to announce energy policy this morning, Pete, as much as I would love to do that. Come onto your show and announce our energy policy.
But has it been firmed up behind the scenes in Shadow Cabinet?
We are in the advanced stage of that policy, and there will be announcements going into the next election. I think that's probably the best I can do for you today.
So it's going to be a plank, though, isn't it? You're confirming that nuclear is going to be a plank of your bid.
We've made it very clear that we are technology neutral on the pathway to net zero, but we want to see not just cleaner energy, we want to see cheaper energy too. Yeah. We know that the Albanese government promised a $275 reduction in energy bills. It was the most hollow promise. They promised it over 100 times and they have failed
Just
dismally.
On that point though, speaking of cheaper energy, I mean, you know that the government's going to say, well, the cheapest form of energy is renewables, not nuclear.
Well, that's right, except, as I said, those countries that have nuclear already are actually demonstrating that electricity bills and energy bills are cheaper for average citizens.
Takes a long time, though.
So,
15 years to get it going?
Well, maybe so. And on that pathway to net zero by 2050, which is a fair way away, surely we should be open-minded about the best way to not just get the cleaner energy, but cheaper energy as well.
So has the Dunkley loss changed your approach at all, Jane, in that a big ticket item is needed for you to sell to the public that's completely different to what Labor's got?
We're not looking at this as a loss. Quite frankly, our margins that came back, our primary vote came back in a way that we haven't seen in more than a decade in Dunkley. We certainly haven't seen it since the boundaries changed back in 2019. And so this is really quite exciting for us. Dunkley was not a marginal seat by any stretch. 6.3% is not a marginal seat, but it's certainly a marginal seat now. So it will very much be in the target range for the Liberal Party at the next election, as will seats like Aston, like Higgins, like McEwen. These are all very much now in play in the next election, and that's a good sign.
What about seats, I mean, I'm just referring to New South Wales here, what about seats like Wentworth, like North Sydney, etc.? Because a big part of your swing came from the richer parts of Dunkley. So does this mean that you'd return your focus now to teal seats?
Well, certainly down here in Victoria, the seat of Higgins, which is held by the Labor Party, is definitely in that mix.
Kooyong?
But as is Kooyong, for instance. Why would it not be? Why would it not be? These are marginal seats, Pete. Of course they're going to be in our
So you haven't given up on the teal seats?
We would always fight on a marginal seat basis. It doesn't matter who the incumbent is.
Okay. We've only got 30 seconds left. Would you be hoping Victoria is in the King's itinerary? There's a report today suggesting that the Premier's got to put up their hands to try and get him. Are you hopeful that Victoria gets a nod there?
I would very much hope so. That when Queen Elizabeth was here, I mean, many years ago, I did actually get a chance to meet her, and it was an extraordinary honour, one I'll never forget. I would hope that I get to do the same with King Charles. I am quite...
Fingers crossed he gets here.
I'm quite a monarchist.
Jane Hume, appreciate it. Thank you. We'll talk to you soon.